Greetings, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to your lovely, lovely island. It's been almost 30 years since I and my very young sons came here and just had a wonderful time. And last night at the get-together was certainly no exception. As Gloria Guevara Manzo mentioned, there's a very short amount of time to address a vast subject area of medical tourism. And she's also a very hard act to follow. This woman, wow, what a dynamo. But some of the things that she mentioned really resonated. So before I very quickly race through some slides, I think one of the more important things, in the last 8 years, I've visited over 200 hospitals and clinics, 30 countries, I visited a lot of ministries of health and tourism and economic development. We've produced some 10 books in various, we're kind of the Lonely Planet of medical tourism. We've been approached by a lot of countries, a lot of different countries wanting to be included as a medical travel destination, wanting attention and wanting a big piece of a fast-growing medical tourism pie. And one of the things that it took us a long time to discover was fairly obvious, and that is that you really can't become a medical tourism destination until you get your own house in order as a country. So you need a good, solid healthcare infrastructure, which involves accreditation, certification, medical schools, training schools, good doctors, good relationships with not only the urban community but the rural sector, a lot of great public policy. And that has to happen first. And so some of the challenges that Gloria went over and that was discussed in the last session yesterday around the Caribbean, as I began to move through some of these slides and we think about medical tourism in this region, are very real. But I think one of the takeaways from Gloria's talk is that almost any kind of challenge can be surmounted if you put your heart and soul and effort and creative talents into it. So one of the things that is so important is to expand, before you can really think about medical tourism, it's very important to be thinking in terms of establishing or expanding your healthcare infrastructure. So the infrastructure that serves your own people on your own island or in your own territory has to be addressed first before you can jump ahead and think about attracting others to your country. And we can talk a little bit more about that and how some of that is really very positive news going forward. Again, part of that is increased emphasis on accreditation and certification. The proof is in the pudding. The more providers, the more healthcare facilities there are, the more diverse they are, the greater your healthcare infrastructure and the greater your chances are to attract a medical tourist. I think there's an opportunity because we have an aging, affluent populations nearby in the US and Canada, and to a lesser extent in the UK and northern South America, provide some really great opportunities, and a rising patient acceptance of international healthcare, whether it's in the Caribbean or Mexico or Thailand or India. There's more of an acceptance of medical tourism and the idea of crossing borders for care for a number of reasons. I want to emphasize again that patient safety is absolutely key. A traveler is not going to head to a place where they feel that they're not safe. And they want quality, and they want evidence of quality. So accreditation and board certification are key. Put a couple of logos on there. The Joint Commission International was founded as an adjunct to the Joint Commission. They're the largest accreditation agency in the world. I think one of the big advantages, particularly with the U.S. Virgin Islands, is that you are a U.S. territory and can take advantage of a lot of that accreditation and a lot of that board certification But accreditation and certification is essential. I wanted to talk just a little bit about some of the leading destinations and specialties that we've come across in the Caribbean, and where these are individual examples. We have Doctors Hospital in the Bahamas, in Nassau, and they are, I believe, the first JCI accredited hospital in the Caribbean. They offer multidisciplinary. They address all kinds of different specialties and conditions, from orthopedics and cardiology. I've toured their hospital twice. They've got a new Bahamas Medical Center that they've just erected, which is more toward wellness and preventive care, a lot of preventive screenings. So that's certainly one facility to look toward as a beacon of what can be accomplished in the Caribbean. Another one, how many of you folks know of the Cayman Health City? So a number. I've been following that for 5 years, ever since I met Devi Shetty, Dr. Devi Shetty in Delhi, and he had this dream, and it was founded upon why force a very large market in North America to get on a plane for 22 hours and head to a culturally questionable place like India that would be outside a lot of people's comfort zone. Why not bring it here? Why not bring it closer to home, especially since he recognized that most medical tourism is regional and short haul, and that's another thing to be very aware of. I sort of half believed him when he had that dream, and now it's open, and they're receiving patients, and I believe the pricing is around 50%. They just had their big grand opening about 3 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like you can get a heart procedure for something on the order of 50% of what costs in the United States. They're going to expand. His dream is to have a 2,000-bed hospital on Grand Cayman in the next 5 years. I'm not going to doubt him since he's already built this. But that took a lot of investment. It took a lot of public-private venture. It took a lot of public policy negotiation. And if Dr. Devi Shetty can do it, then I got to think that the folks in the region can get together and put creative programs like that together. One of my favorite examples is the Barbados Fertility Center in Georgetown. I'm sorry? I'm sorry. My apologies. At least people are awake. That's good. That's good. Good to hear. What I love about them is that they are an example of how a region can tell its own story in a way that is in its own context. And the reason I mention that is Barbados Fertility Center has success rates for making babies that's 10 to 12% higher than the success rates that are found in the United States and the UK, and they've done formal clinical trials on this. And the reason is because the area is so chill. And so the message is, come to Barbados, come to the Caribbean, chill, have a baby, you know? And all of the implications around that, all right? And that's a beautiful thing. And so, you know, one of the things that's very important is to play to your strengths. Don't try to be something that you're not. Unless you got a whole lot of money and a lot of clout and a lot of time, especially in healthcare, because it moves so slowly and it's so regulated. Another interesting one is, and also fits the context, is I'm sure everyone is familiar with Eric Clapton's Crossroads Clinic in Antigua. It's not just a destination for rock stars and luxury travelers and celebrities with substance abuse problems. I think some 70% of their clientele, last time I checked, is from the region. And that's an example of one hand washing the other. The profits from some of these high-ticket cross-border patients go to help elevate and help to encourage social change in a certain region. So those are just a few examples, and there are too few. I just heard last night that there's a new dialysis clinic that opened here. Is that correct? Yes? Great. I want to know more about that. But those are the kinds of things that that I think those are the kinds of directions that I think can be taken or that can be considered. I think the idea, like Devi Shetty, that's very ambitious to build a 200 or a 2,000 bed hospital, but I think you got to start. You got to start small. You got to take baby steps. You got to crawl before you can walk. And I think specialty clinics and other types of approaches can get the Caribbean started on a trajectory of a successful medical travel program. Just wanted to go over very quickly some of the competition, because there is a lot of competition in the area. Mexico does a great job with dentistry and cosmetic surgery. Some 80% of their inbound traffic is from the U.S. for cosmetic and dentistry, but they also have some very fine hospitals that do orthopedics, bariatrics, San Jose Tech, Angeles, and others. And Cosmed is a great example of an excellent cosmetic surgery clinic in Tijuana that combines the tourism, the leisure travel, with the medical. You can't do that with everything. You can't do that with a heart surgery. You can't do that with orthopedics. But you can do it with light cosmetic surgery. You can do it with light dentistry. You can do it with health screenings. And those are the kinds of people that you want, because you've already got a tourism base here. We'll talk about that in just a second. Costa Rica, the same. Dentistry and cosmetic surgery are their big tickets, but they are beginning to build JCI, fully accredited hospitals with great doctors. Many of them are retired surgeons or people that are just tired of the U.S. medical system, and they're traveling to Costa Rica, becoming expatriates. That's another marketing challenge and another marketing opportunity to get doctors, great doctors in the Caribbean who want to live here. Turn them into expats and get them treating patients here for less. Colombia, they're competitive in two ways. I visited Medellin recently. They've just emerged from 50 years of awful political strife, and they're on a tear. And they happen to have built very, very good medical facilities, because this was a war of affluence, and so a lot of rich people got bombed and kidnapped and burned, and they demanded really, really good hospitals. And so one of the weird after effects is the fact that they've got very, very good health care in Colombia. When I visited these Colombian hospitals like Cardio Infantil, which is a cardiovascular specialty hospital, Fundación San Vicente, most of the overwhelming majority of their medical travelers, their inbound medical travelers, were from the Caribbean. So revenue is being taken from the Caribbean and enriching Colombia. That's a good thing. They're getting good health care, but it again sends the message that the basic health care infrastructure is something that needs to be questioned and improved. I just saw the headlines today that one of your top hospitals lost its accreditation, and that's in St. Croix, and that's unfortunate, and it made big news, and it's a kind of thing that people need to look at. Why? I don't understand it. I didn't go in depth on it. It just hit the newspapers today, but it's something that the very top levels of government and public policy people need to be questioning. Why did that hospital lose its accreditation, and what does that mean to your own people, never mind the incoming patient? So some of the challenges yesterday, a decentralized geography was discussed. The fact that there are so many different travel requirements, visa requirements, that the Caribbean is very, very, very diverse. And so that's something that, in terms of the medical traveler, probably doesn't need to be addressed to the degree you need to address it with the leisure traveler, but it's certainly important when someone's trying to make a choice around the Caribbean as a medical travel destination. There are too few highly regarded facilities, and that will, when a government or a region focuses on building out its healthcare infrastructure, then that problem is going to take care of itself, and it will naturally, ipso facto, become a more attractive medical travel destination. And there's a leisure and vacation perception, which is a challenge and an opportunity. The fact that, I think Las Vegas is a great example. Dubai is a great example where they actually flipped it, and they saw that they had a base of leisure tourism to draw from, and they promoted some of their, what I call the light medical tourism, the health screenings, the vision, vision and hearing, light dentistry, light cosmetic surgery, because they're already exploiting a base of millions of tourists that are coming there every year and turning them into temporary medical tourists as well as leisure travelers. And Dubai and Las Vegas are two great places to look to, and Nassau to a lesser extent. Doctors Hospital in Nassau, right around the corner, some 70% of their inbound patients, not their emergency patients, are folks that are saying, oh, I'm taking this trip, why not save $1,000 on a health screening and go to Doctors Hospital? Specialty clinics are another area. Outpatient clinics are another area to look at. You don't have to start with giant hospitals. So some of the leisure, some of the opportunities, we talked about the leisure tourism infrastructure, is don't try to reinvent the wheel. Don't try to boil the ocean. Work with what you have. The Caribbean has a lot of inbound leisure tourists. Turn those into medical tourists by creative advertising and public relations programs. I can't overemphasize it. Some 90% of all medical tourism around the world is short haul. It's less than a 4-hour plane ride. My mind thinks now in terms of concentric circles of 4-hour plane trips from Bangkok or Shanghai or Moscow or the United States. So where are you going to be concentrating the most? It's your North American patient. East of the Mississippi, I might add, because west of the Mississippi they might be more liable to go to Mexico. Focus on specialty clinics and light treatments. We talked about that. And when I mentioned Barbados Fertility Center, mentioned Crossroad, what are those opportunities to build specialty clinics and attract doctors to some of these smaller clinics and begin to build a name for yourself over the next 2, 3, 5 years as you begin to look at medical tourism? And how could I not mention marijuana tourism? And so with that, I think we would leave that to the question and answer section, and I'll thank you for your time.